Hello. Hello. Hi. Can everyone at the back hear me, or do I need to use the microphone?
Oh, good.
Awesome. Okay, hello, welcome to the fanfiction panel. I'm Zalia. Scribble Moose isn't here. I know, but I wasn't there at Kitticon, so we kind of swapped.
They're taking it in turns.
Yeah. So, as I said, I'm Zalia. I've been writing fan fiction for a really long time. Longer than I care to admit at times. My current fandoms are Hitalia, Avengers. Yay. I like the popular stuff, I can't pretend otherwise. So, to start off with, I'd just like to ask who here at the moment writes fan fiction? We've got quite a good mix, people who do it, people who has ever just read fan fiction? Okay. Who doesn't know what fan fiction is and is kind of scared? That's good. We might be changing that by the end of the panel. So quickly, does anyone want to stand up and say hi and tell us what do you write? Nick will, okay, what do you write, Nick?
Hi, my name is Dark Score or Silent Spec, depending on which fandom I'm in. I write mostly Final Fantasy VIII fan fiction, so that's old fandom, and I've just gotten into Avengers. I've also dabbled in Vice Crows. What else have I dabbled in?
Everything.
So you ask me something that says, here, write shit for that. Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, my name's Owen McCrae. I write a webcomic called Beat Club, which is beatclubcomics.wordpress.com, and basically it's giant robots meet Kim Possible. You should check it out.
Oh, I want to read that.
beatclubcomics.wordpress.com.
Anyone else? Your phone? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Chris Isaacs. My pen name is the Isaac89, same as my con name. I mainly write for the Art and Elico series, which is one of the smallest communities on fanfiction websites. But I'm also planning to write for a few other things, varying things like Deep Space Nine, Shadow Hearts, mainly stuff that you don't normally get, with the exception of Star Trek, obviously.
Sounds cool.
So stuff like that.
Okay, you.
My name is, this was a bit like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Fanfiction role.
My name's Jenna, Nadeska Kitty Online. I originally started writing fanfiction when I was 12 and it was Sailor Moon with OCs, brilliant. I now dabble a bit in Hitalia, where I actually wrote one which was over 4,000 words long, which was England getting up, having breakfast and leaving for work.
Sounds good.
Well,
She's got one that's 80k and I've got one that's 200.
It's not finished yet.
That's mine.
It's on the kink meme and it's not
Welcome,
finished yet.
And name's Sarah, pen name, Wacky Walder on fanfiction.net. I've been writing since I was about 10, 13, so I've been school from literally early stuff like Thunderbirds all the way through to Gundam Wing and
Gundam Wing.
Transformers. Best fanfiction was Transformers fanfiction entitled Curse of the Furby. The subtitle was Bumblebee buys a Furby. That's it.
Okay, I'll get started, and at the end, I think we'll have a bit of time, so if anyone else wants to stand up and say hi, we'll get onto it. Okay, so, this is one of my favourite quotes about fanfiction to start off. It was written by a guy who actually consulted fandom when he was writing this article. And if you've been in fandom for any length of time, you know that this is not a common occurrence, someone asking the people who do it. So fan fiction is what literature might look like if it were reinvented from scratch after a nuclear apocalypse by a band of brilliant pop culture junkies trapped in a sealed bunker. They don't do it for money, that's not what it's about. The writers write it and put it up online just for the satisfaction. They're fans, but they're not silent, couch-bound consumers of media. The culture talks to them, and they talk back to the culture in its own language. So if you think the first bit, basically it's Amecon, but on the internet. So, yeah. Wrong button. So basically, what is fan fiction? Well, there are a lot of definitions of fan fiction. The simplest is probably it is fiction written by fans of a particular series, using their characters, using their world. So you can see the first one, this is from the Organisation for Transformative Works, which is kind of an advocacy organisation for fanfickers. And it works in a lot of ways to make it be seen as kind of a legitimate form of creativity, instead of this kind of underground movement that we all feel is a bit guilty. It's like we keep it in the back of our closets with the skeletons. It can be a broadly defined term for regarding stories or settings which aren't our own. We're using other people's things. Of course, you can get some more, shall we say, creative definitions if you go to
Good old boy.
Oh, I love this computer.
Bye, Mac.
Thank you. What did I do?
You should consider Prezi next time.
No, because obviously it's running. Just don't tab round to it.
There we go. Yes, if you go to something like Urban Dictionary, you'll find some slightly more creative definitions of fan fiction. For example, your English teacher's worst nightmare. I can say this as, well, I'm a TEFL teacher, so kind of I'm like masquerading as an English teacher for people who don't know better. Yeah, don't turn in fan fiction to your class English teacher. It doesn't.
I did it for GCSE and got an A.
I obviously had the repressed English teachers. I just got funny looks.
I did Lord of the Flies fan fiction. I did my story based on Lord of the Flies, so I just made a new character.
That sounds cool.
So you know what's the vibe?
When I was
You know
young,
you're buying her lessons by telling her this.
when I was younger, I did once penned in a short story where I used the names and the characters from Les Miserables.
I did once teach a lesson to my students revolving around surviving the zombie apocalypse.
I once had a teacher use my computer. I'm an engineer. I did a college course where it was a HNC, and the guy used my computer to check something, and I left a fan fiction open, which was in the middle of a gay porn scene. he just sort of turned his head towards me.
So anyway, now I think we have an idea of what fan fiction is. Depending, you know, we can go with the kind of cerebral, academic definition, or we can go with, we kind of write gay porn online. Using the Winchester brothers, or something like that. So,
Supernatural, where they
I've heard of this, yes.
It's amazing. They actually go on a whole episode of Supernatural around a convention, and the two brothers go online and find what's known as Wincest. The reactions to it are priceless. Go and find it. Even if you're not a Supernatural fan, it's pretty much quite accurate how cons are.
I approve. Okay, so we'll have a quick look now at kind of the history of fan fiction. So, millions and millions of years ago, before we evolved from the ocean, we were mermaids. And mermen, I'm sorry, it's an inclusive panel. And unfortunately, under the water, there was no internet. It was horrible. So low, we hung around with each other and told stories. Seashells, unfortunately, are not a particularly reliable method of recording these things. So we just told people what we remembered, and the stories grew and developed as we added bits and took out bits and created new characters. Things got a bit epic. came up onto land and lost our vestigial tales. We formed tribes and shared stories of inspiration. Often there was quaffing. Each storyteller would take the stories and make them his or her own. Fighting, sex, and booze were very popular genres. Sure. Once we had paper and pens, we started writing things down. And some stories became a bit more standardized because you had one particular text you would refer to. If you look up on the screen here, we see Geoffrey of Monmouth chronicling the sagas of King Arthur, the first written version of this story, which had been told for hundreds of years before. We don't know whether he also had a stash of night-on-night slash fic. The academics have been unable to confirm or deny this as of yet.
Can I just put Scribble Moose writes a lot of Merlin fic? So you might be able to see the influence on this presentation.
Okay? But writing down stories, it doesn't stop them from changing, as we will know. Especially if you're a fan of Sherlock. Writing just means that more people have access to them. Obviously, when they, education became common, it made it a lot easier. Which inspired more versions. For example, with the Legend of King Arthur, the French introduced Guinevere and Lancelot to the legends, the romantic devils.
Bloody French.
And so it went on and on and on. Reinventions for every generation, including musicals. And thinking about the Arthurian legend again, have a look and let's see how many of these different versions of the Arthurian legend you can name.
You missed Monty Python.
Yeah.
So, any ideas?
King Arthur.
Yeah.
You should know these.
I don't know these.
Yeah, I think it was just called
Excalibur?
Merlin. Yeah, Sam Neill.
Someone's gonna be Excalibur.
She does a bit too much like Bellatrix, doesn't
She really does, but let's face it, Helena Bonham Carter just looks like Bellatrix Lestrange anyway.
Isn't that the one in the middle that was the same film, right?
The one right in the middle, that is the...
That was the latest one.
That was, I think it was just called King Arthur or Arthur.
Yeah,
but
isn't
it one at the bottom as well, King Arthur?
Yes, quite possibly. I'm not entirely sure on all of them. I didn't get answers to this quiz. My friend didn't send them, so...
Just do this. We'll call them best ones.
So, as we can see, there have been lots of versions of the Arthurian legend produced. It helped that back when it was first written, there was no such thing as copyright law.
I want to come to a convention with just a pile of coconut shells.
So, if we have a look, there's been some popular fan fiction throughout the ages, things that your English teacher would say you should read because they're classics. So we've got Virgil. The Aeneid is explicitly a follow-on to the Iliad. So even one of the greatest writers of all time, totally a fanficker. Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Shakespeare nicked half of his stuff from other people. And Victorian and Edwardian fans of Jane Austen and Sherlock Holmes, which we shall just take a slightly other... So, in Victorian England, they had clubs which came together specifically to write and discuss fan fiction of Jane Austen and Sherlock Holmes. I'm saying I can just see it now, all of these very dour-looking Victorian men in their top hats with fantastic moustaches, sitting around discussing Mr. Darcy's latest 10,000 word epic. I like to imagine it a little like this. Sorry,
Wonder if
good God, man.
Wonder if at any point they wondered, you know what this book needs? Zombies.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, it's like, good God, man. Your latest fan fiction has truly slain me with feels. I must insist that you continue it forthwith.
Verily.
Indeed. And then probably lots of drinking. Television has offered us so much inspiration. Obviously, it also kind of brought about Slash. Which, a lot of you, awesome. For the rest of you, I'm sorry. Yeah, and tough. It's not going anywhere. You know, we've got Slash arrived. Star Trek is obviously the famous one where it kind of arrived, Kirk and Spock. Yep. The Men from U.N.C.L.E., The Professionals, and then it's been continued in modern shows like Supernatural. The bromance aspect of shows like these has given fuel to a whole new genre, and it's opened up some interesting conversation about gaps left in fiction under a patriarchal gaze. For example, why do we need to write Slash? A lot of people would argue, not necessarily me, because I kind of just like the boys together, is because there aren't that many female characters who people can identify with. A lot of the time, in stuff with bromance especially, you've got the love interest who probably gets killed. Or in the case of Vice Croix sent to Australia, that is the happiest ending you get in Vice Croix if you are a woman. I have to say this.
Or the one where you find out you look exactly like his sister.
Yes.
I was going to say, you know the film Road to El Dorado?
Yeah.
Basically, the character of Shell, the female character, was added at the very last minute of storyboarding because they realised the film was a bit too gay.
Actually, I do remember.
And it took them that long to
Actually, that's completely right. I think in the original saying they were actually written as lovers, but they weren't allowed to do that.
Yeah. Because they used to call each other in the original draft like honey and sweetie and stuff.
And they still do in one of the French dub. I think.
Yeah.
Again, we come back to the French.
Any French?
They don't have their stereotypes either.
So, fandoms have exploded over the past 30 years or so. Obviously, the internet has a lot to do with this. It's a lot easier to put your fan fiction out there when you don't have to rely on passing notes to your friend on a piece of paper.
And getting caught.
And getting caught in class.
Can anyone identify the top left fandom?
This was put in by Scribs because it was her very first fandom when she was in school, and it's Bay City Rollers. We'll have a brief look at kind of how fan fiction distribution, it sounds a lot more boring than it actually is, it's going to be really short, don't worry, has changed over the last 30 years. But each of these fandoms has brought kind of a wealth of fic. Obviously some more than others. Hestalia is a monster. I would say Care Bears less so.
Hestalia is a monster, but Care Bears is infamous because of that one fic.
Yeah.
And don't look up Grumpy Bear and the bondage stuff.
And just as an example of going back to Arthurian legend, does anyone know what this nightmare frame from Code Geass is called? Yes. So he's named after one of the romantic heroes. So now I'm going to take a brief break and do a dramatic reading. Oh, no, I can't be bothered. So you just have to... Awesome. So, do we have any fans of Torchwood here?
Yes.
Don't worry, it doesn't have any spoilers in.
Or porn.
Or porn, unfortunately.
Is Owen alive? Is Owen alive? Oh, can we be very happy? Owen's alive. Yes.
Oh, Owen is. Yeah.
You've always done
It's set
cinema.
like series before the end of series 2. So don't worry. And it is mostly unspoilery. Okay. I don't care what you say, Gwen said as they descended the stairs to the hub, the roll door sliding back obligingly as Yanto swiped his keycard. All I want is a bagel and a cup of coffee. She had stopped, Yanto realised, because she'd bumped into his back. He didn't realise that he himself had stopped until she bounced off, rubbing her nose. Ow, Yanto! I hope you'll forgive me, I can't do a Welsh accent. Something was wrong with the hub. What's going on, she asked, and he felt her moving to step around him. He put out a hand, stopping her, and then pointed. What's the hold-up? Jack called from behind Owen. I'm freezing. Someone's been in the hub, Yanto replied. Sitting on Tosh's desk, the most visible from the doorway, was a large wood and metal contraption. It had certainly not been there when the call came in, a giant snot-flinging monster menacing early afternoon lunch patrons of the local bistro. He heard, rather than saw, the guns being drawn. Jack's antique from its leather holster, Tosh and Owen's modern pieces sliding out of their nylon. He put his hands down to his hip for his own sidearm, and then swore softly when he realised his gun, like Gwen's, had been discarded in a pile of highly corrosive snot somewhere in a sewer grate. I go left, Tosh and Owen right, Jack said, pushing past them. You two sweep from behind. They entered the hub on alert, eyes skimming everywhere, taking it in the gantries and the walkways over the fountain's pool. Yanto moved cautiously, inching towards Tosh's desk, studying the object with care. It didn't look very threatening close up. It was some kind of woven wood construction, about the size of a paper bag, with metal struts and a glass dome over the top. There were oily marks beneath the desk, and he bent to examine them as he did, and as he did, something landed lightly on his back. An ordinary person would have shouted and straightened instantly, but Torchwood training and 2 years with a grabby boss had taught better. He simply froze. Owen, he said, and Owen swung around, gun pointed in his direction. Yanto squeezed his eyes shut. There's something on my back. Why, hello there, something said, something above him. Yanto briefly wondered if he were hallucinating. Is it, he asked carefully, by any chance? A cat, Owen said flatly. There's a cat, Yanto said, on my back. Hello, Moggy, Owen said. Where'd you come from? I'm in your base. He was talking, sitting on Yanto. There was a muffled snicker from somewhere to his left. The soft weight on his back padded over to one shoulder. It felt like a cat, and when a furry face appeared in front of his, looked like one too. Oh, hi, the cat said. Yanto straightened cautiously. Is that a talking cat? Jack asked, off in the distance. It does appear to be, Yanto said carefully. The cat leapt from his shoulder to Tosh's desk. The others gathered round slowly. I has a humans, the cat continued. Jack, were there any mind-altering substances in the corrosive alien snot? Tosh asked faintly. Jack put out his hand and the cat butted its head against his fingers. Scanner, he said. Tosh carefully slid a black box off the desk and aimed it at the cat. Definitely alien, she said. Talking alien cat, Yanto asked. I'm in your base, the cat repeated. Apparently so, Jack said. The cat rubbed its back along one of the monitors. I could be wrong, Owen said dryly, but it seems to be trying to communicate. Peaceful cat comes in peace, the cat yelled. We've been monitoring you. Are you the only one? Jack asked, and the mental image of Jack talking seriously to a pale grey tomcat was one that Yanto suspected would linger. I'm in your base, pretty damn lost, the cat replied. Fell through the rift, maybe, Yanto heard himself say. Nice planet you got here, the cat said. It was odd how you could almost see the capital letters, Yanto thought. Captain Jack Harkness, Jack said, and offered his hand. The cat licked his fingers. Oh, hi, sexy Jack, the cat said. Jack beamed. He catches on quick, Owen drawled. Sexy Jack, dis my shep, the cat told him. I flies it. Did he just say something about sheep? Gwen asked. Ship, I think you'll find, Yanto corrected. The cat gave him a curt nod. That was a sentence he never thought he would think. He's lost, Tosh said. Poor thing. We can help. Oh, hi, pretty Tosh. Got no batteries. No batteries, Jack murmured. Invisible sandwich. They all looked at each other. Icon has cheeseburger? I'm sorry, we don't understand, Jack said. Hungry cat is hungry, the cat tried, looking pointedly at Yanto. Yanto sighed. There's cream in the fridge, he said, offering his arm. The cat leapt into the crook of his elbow and purred contentedly. I has a Yanto, one of them. Okay, so that's not the whole fic, but I'll move on. Now I have to reconnect this, and it's been far too long since I did. I'm going to attempt to get back onto. And technology was supposed to help us.
This is for almost his husband, by the way.
Yeah. So, at the same time as we have the internet, we have books. Old traditions continue. There are more storytellers around than ever. Here we see a Roman reenactor telling his own version of the story of Gawain and the Green Knight. And afterwards there will be quaffing, because it's required.
Theory, Tony.
It is indeed right. So now we'll have a quick look at a brief history of fan fiction. So here is how it all started, the modern version of fan fiction. This is a fanzine for Star Trek from 1967, and it included some of the first kind of recorded fan fiction. Obviously, it had been passed around in probably school classrooms before this. And back then, in the mists of time, fan fiction in zines had to be sold at conventions, or you had to have it mailed out to your house. I'm not sure I would feel entirely comfortable with having like a big stack of Hetalia fic emailed to my, posted to my house these days. Obviously, that continued for a while, and then the internet happened, which is all very good. The internet, back in its rudimentary stages, the first place you found fandom was Usenet groups. When it came to a time when most people had their own email address, a lot of fandom moved to mailing lists. I don't know how many people remember the days of Yahoo groups.
Yeah.
Oh good, I'm not alone. So for anyone who doesn't, you'd sign up to a particular group for your pairing, for your fandom, and every day you would come back to like 100 emails of every post that had been posted to this community, including every fic, every review, every response to every review, every flame. It got a bit tiring, every argument, every more please. But this got a bit cumbersome. So then came along the site, which is still around today, fanfiction.net.
Pit of Voles!
Otherwise known as the Pit of Voles. Which is obviously one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fanfiction site in existence. It is of variable quality, shall we say. It has so many fics. You do get some gems on there, but you also get some god-awful stuff.
Yeah. My immortal.
Yes, my immortal.
And the Mary Sue stuff.
Oh yeah, all the Mary Sue stuff. All your OCs, all your inexplicable crossovers. I say this with like the utmost fondness, because sometimes all you want to do is troll a fanfiction.net page and see, oh my god, this is so bad, but it's so hilarious. Obviously, you also got a lot of private fanfiction sites. It's not quite as common now as it used to be. I would say, I'm trying to remember the year, probably around 2002, there was a huge shift in the location of fanfiction. Mainly because Yahoo groups sucked.
Not in a good way.
And yeah, not in a good way. There was a huge shift in where fandom resided to LiveJournal.
Yay!
Obviously, again, not the only place, but it became the hub of fandom activity for a lot of fandoms. And then you move on today when LiveJournal sucks.
It's still going.
It's not that bad, but it has its moments when you just kind of want, I want to check things, why are you broken? Again. Today, I think we're seeing another shift in the location of fandom. It's kind of fracturing again. A lot of people have moved away from LiveJournal to sites like Dreamwidth. You have the looming spectre of Tumblr, which is, in my opinion, absolutely awful for posting fanfiction on. Great for finding fan art, terrible for fic. We have obviously Archive of Our Own, AO3, which is run by the Organisation of Transformative Works. It's kind of like fanfiction.net, but slightly better organised.
In theory.
In theory. It's still in beta and they're kind of working out the kinks. One thing I do like is you can search for, like, you can tag your fics with a ton of tags. So if your fic has like
one of everything.
Yeah, one of everything. You can click through to all the characters, you can click through to all the fandoms, and you can go, oh, this fic is set in the 1920s. I want to see all the fic on the site that is set in the 1920s. You can do it. But it does still have a few bugs, it has a lot of downtime, and I find that it tends to be predominantly Western fandoms. So you have a lot of Supernatural, a lot of movies, Sherlock, a lot of Sherlock. So the anime fandoms are kind of starting to move over there, but they're a much smaller section, which did lead to one of the Yuletide wank of a couple of years back, where they took the stats on AO3 as a measure of whether a fandom was popular or not, which meant that Hetalia got on this, despite being one of the biggest fandoms around, got on the rare fandom list, while Discworld didn't. A lot of people were very angry. It was quite scary to be on the internet at that time.
Does anyone not know what Yuletide is?
Yuletide is a massive, massive fic exchange for, they're generally considered smaller fandoms. You sign up, you are with like your top 5 fandoms, and say what kind of things you like, what you don't like, and you'll get assigned someone who will write a story for you, and you write one for them. And it does focus on kind of your rarer fandoms, the ones that don't get as much love, dead fandoms, to try and spread the love around. So, is fanfiction the work of the devil or the saviour of humankind? I think that is a good answer. So,
Exactly would say it's the work of the devil.
Most people would, but
some people would. I think
I know since 50 Shades of Grey came out, I'm starting to consider so.
Can we leave the 50 Shades?
41 minutes, Mark.
Can we leave the 50 Shades of Grey just for like until after I finish this, and then we can bitch about it as much as we can. So, fanfiction, I think we can say it's a natural part of human expression. Who doesn't remember, as a little kid, pretending to be one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Yeah. Or My Little Pony? Who didn't create their own characters for their favourite TV show when they were a kid? And fit them in there somehow? So I think we can say it's just something natural. It's a natural part of our creativity. It's fun. Some people take it a bit too seriously, but for the most part, I think we're all in it for the enjoyment we get. It's social. We're here, talking. I've met some of my best friends through fanfiction. And I don't just know them on the internet, I actually know them in real life. I have friends, honestly.
We actually get, a bunch of us get together every year in New York and get absolutely rat-arsed while watching stuff and writing.
Yes.
And then go to Betty's for tea.
So it's a social activity. We post fan fiction in the hopes of other people reading it and telling us how awesome we are, preferably. Or just getting into discussion about, oh, you like that pairing too? I think it's great. Or on the other side of the coin, oh, you like that pairing? I can never talk to you, I'm shunning you. It's creative. One of the big arguments for fan fiction being a good thing is we aren't just sitting there being passive consumers. We aren't sitting there watching Supernatural and just taking it and accepting their word as law. I would say like God's own law, but I think with Supernatural we're not entirely sure. You know, we are taking these shows and we are making them our own. We are expanding them. For an example for me is Hetalia. It's kind of a fun series, but it's mainly fluff. There is not that much substance to the actual canon. I love it to pieces, and there are some great moments, but it's kind of cracky. Whereas for me, fandom has kind of made the whole thing for me, because I think people took those characters and made them so much more, gave them a lot more depth.
The famous quote from you is, I love that I'm in a fandom where they have footnotes, and the footnotes are longer than the fic.
It is one of the perils. It's fucking annoying. Sitting on the bus going, oh wait, that's a really good idea. I don't have a pencil and paper. And then it's like, oh no, I have to work. What do you mean I can't stay up to 3 AM writing? And obviously you have the downside of the social interaction. You have flame wars. You have flamers. You have people, you have the rabid shippers.
I was about to mention that ship wars is the worst.
Ship wars are scary. I do think that fandom has calmed down in terms of anti-yaoi and anti-slash people.
There's still a lot of it on Tumblr. Tumblr tends to bring the flames and the ship wars
Yeah.
and the crazy.
I'd say I'm more of an anti-yaoi that keeps quiet about it nowadays.
Yeah, I think that it's here to stay. You're not getting rid of it, really. There's no point. Fangirls are exactly. Also, I think most sort of yaoi writers, we tend to have a kind of spiteful streak where it's like, you don't like it? Okay, I'm going to write more. And last of all,
and then we'll dress up as the characters and make it up and brilliant.
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant. Yay! So, what is fanfiction not? It's not to be taken too seriously. At the end of the day, it's what we do for fun. It's a hobby. If you're getting so worked up about it, you're not having fun. Which it's like, well, what's the point if you aren't enjoying yourself? You know, I don't think most of us are under the illusion that we are changing the world with it. We're not doing it to... My favourite phrase is, we're not doing it to undermine the heteronormative patriarchal paradigm. Some of us might be, but I think most of us are just doing it for the love of a series, for fun, for friends. But at the same time, it's not to be dismissed too readily. It is a huge, huge body of literature, and it's all available for free. There are people like us who, in a lot of ways, we are growing up to be the next generation of authors, of film writers, and a lot of our influences, we'll probably see it in the next sort of 10, 20 years maybe, I hope, will have come from cutting our teeth on fan fiction. It's not practicing for real writing. This is one of the arguments against it that I hate. There are a lot of brilliant writers out there who, they don't want to be published authors. They're not doing this as practice. They're doing it just because they enjoy it. Obviously some people do use it as practice, but for the majority of us, I think, for me, even if I became a published author, I would still be writing fan fiction. Just because if something moves me that much, if I care about it that much, I want to give something back. Also, I kind of want to stand there and write fan fiction for my own stuff and then have people tell me, oh my god, that's so out of character. It's not usually a money spinner. As we mentioned earlier, 50 Shades of Grey is an exception at the moment.
That breaks most of these rules, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that does actually break most of these rules. And most importantly, it's not a waste of time.
That's 50 Shades of Grey.
Except 50 Shades of Grey.
It does break every single rule.
I'm expecting like her lawyers to burst in at any moment.
And she really got to stand on lawyer rights.
Considering you can still get the full original fanfiction version online for free, which is virtually identical to the books, she doesn't have a leg to stand on here. But it's not a waste of time. How many people play sports you get guys who go out and play football every day. No one goes up and tells them, well, you're never going to be a professional, why are you wasting your time? Because it's their hobby. In the same way, fan fiction it's a hobby. It's something we do for fun. We do it to relax after the stress of a long day. And that, as long as you're enjoying it, is not a waste of time. So now we have some top tips for fan fiction writers. First one, write often and don't stop. It doesn't matter if it's crap. It doesn't matter if it's 100 words or 100,000 words. Just keep writing. How many people do NaNoWriMo?
I've tried, but I'm a retail manager and it's the worst time ever.
Yes, I can imagine that. National Novel Writing Month, for people who don't know, NaNoWriMo it takes place in the month of November, and the goal is to write 50,000 words in November.
What?
You write 50,000 words in a month. The point of this is not to write the best thing you can, it's to just get you writing. It's to fill the page. It doesn't matter if it's terrible. The point is you are building up that kind of stamina to write something, and you're getting into the habit of doing it every day. One of the worst things for a writer, I think, is holding your book up and seeing an empty page. Whereas once you get started, even if it's just a sentence, it's suddenly less daunting. Write crap. It doesn't have to be the best thing in the world as long as you're doing it. And it's one of those things, writing really does come with practice. You figure out how to use it, you figure out how to use language, how to put things together. From writing terrible stuff.
You find your voice.
You find your voice. I'm sure that most writers, even professional ones, have got buried in the bottom of their cupboard their first attempt at a novel which reads like the worst fan fiction.
Reads like a Mills and Boon.
Yeah, quite possibly. Unfortunately, some of that does get published.
Yeah.
Write with passion, with enthusiasm, or if all else fails, with bloody-minded determination.
I will let you have sex.
This again is where the fanficker's spite comes from. It's the kind of, I'm going to finish this if it kills me because I've already wasted 2 years of my life on it.
I know that.
Write from your heart, not from your ego. So write what you want to write, not what you think other people want to write, not what you think will get you 1 million reviews. Because in the end, you're probably going to be happier with the fic that got 1 comment but you really love, that you put so much yourself in, than you are with the huge epic that everyone else seems to love, and you're like, but
50 Shades of Grey.
that's just going to be the answer for everything. But it wasn't you, and you don't feel for the characters. There's none of your kind of spark in it. And importantly, relax and enjoy it. It's not a job. It's your hobby. It's for fun. I cannot emphasize that enough. So if it's stressing you out, stop. Go and do something else and come back when it's not making you want to cry and tear your book in frustration.
Or if you have some new inspiration.
That too is help. And remember, The only way to fail at writing is not to write. If you don't write, you're never going to do anything that you feel good about. And this is just, I think most of us have already written fic, if not. So you've written your first fan fiction. What now? Well, your options are you can keep it on the hard drive of your computer or in your notebook and come back to it in 10 years and go, what the hell was I smoking? Or drinking.
Or both.
Or I don't know.
I was
Or
really high on
you can
painkillers.
take the plunge and you can take a chance and go online. So these are some of the best bets. Unfortunately, the links didn't turn out that well. So first is fanfiction.net. It's a pretty safe bet. There is so much stuff on there, and it does tend to have a reasonable response. Because there are so many people using it, you usually get a few comments. Depends. The downside is it's very difficult to tell the quality. You need to make sure you have a very, very good summary. And it does tend to be that good fics will get overlooked in favour of really awful ones a lot of the time. But there are so many people using it, you will probably get some response. I mentioned Archive of Our Own. It's like fanfiction.net. It's a lot smaller, it's kind of glitchy still, but I enjoy it, and the tagging system's excellent.
I found there
Again,
seems to
when
be
it
a nice
works.
community on that one as well. And
There
I've
is
got
supposed to be a
lot more.
good community. I'm not in it, I'm still stuck on LiveJournal.
The downside to Archive of Our Own is that you pretty much have to go on a waiting list to get into it for
Yes,
about a
you
month,
do,
unless you
yeah.
get an invite from someone already on it.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they don't give you any invites to keep inviting people after you've given your first one away,
Yeah.
which is a real pain in the
So
arse.
it's kind of a double-edged sword. They're keeping it small at the moment so they don't overload their servers, but it's difficult. It's not growing as much as it could. LiveJournal and Dreamwidth. LiveJournal is still a biggie. It's less popular now than it was for various reasons. Dreamwidth is basically LiveJournal but run by fans. It does have the advantage that it was set up by fans mainly for fandom. So you're less likely to get something like the instance of Strike Through 2000 whatever, where they shut down some fan fiction, fan art communities in a case of Save the Fictional Children. Tumblr, fan artists, it's great for you. Fanfic is less so, although I am seeing more of it. And one of the places fandom seems to have moved to at the moment is kink memes.
Yes.
These are actually a great way if you're new to fanfiction. It says kink meme, most of them do not require the fics to actually be kink or even sex. It's just a way of saying you request, you put down what you want to see, and hopefully someone will write it for you. The really good thing if you're new to fanfiction is that they are anonymous. Some more than others, but if you've written something and you're not sure that you want to kind of out yourself, you can still post it anonymously. So it's a good way of kind of taking your fanfiction virginity, if we like to say it. But there's no kind of one big hub of fanfiction at the moment. Okay.
There's also another one I can add to the list called Fan Art Central, which basically does both fan art in writing and also in drawings. So it does both. So.
Okay, cool. I'll remember that one.
Fan Art Central.
Fan Art
Okay,
Central, yeah.
so we have a few minutes left. If anyone wants to say anything.
I have a question to most, but how do people deal with fame? Because I was a fanfic writer on the Google Yahoo groups.
Yeah.
And I actually got one of my stories got flamed so badly that I actually put it away. I haven't written about 10 years fanfiction. It's still stuck in my hard drive. But that actually put me off it. And I became scared to write online anymore. I was wondering what would you kind of Has anyone suggested what to do with it?
Okay, this is a difficult one. Flames are generally not written with much conscious thought. They aren't even trying to change your minds, they're just trying to abuse you.
They're assholes for the sake of being an asshole.
So I would say one of your best bets is just to ignore it, because giving them a response, it's basically you are feeding trolls.
And then
Ignore it is good. I say this because it's the thing of if you reply with anger.
Oh, I never replied, I just pretty much
Yeah.
ignored it, but then people would keep coming back and then I was getting inflamed because I didn't reply to them.
Yeah. This is the thing, it's generally think of flamers as people who are insecure, people who can't take it that you are having fun. The best thing to do is ignore them, and I know it's a lot easier to say than it is to put in practice, but ignore them and carry on.
It helps a lot
because
if you have friends.
If it helps, this is what I do. I've had some sort of RP flames, is my general viewpoint tends to be they want to stop me doing something fun. Obviously they want to get something out of it. I'm going to continue because it'll piss them off.
Can I just add something to it? One of my first books I thought got flamed and I nearly stopped writing, but the way I thought about it was, okay, my fic wasn't brilliant, but I'm just starting out. I'm not going to be brilliant, and there are going to be people who hate you whatever you do. There are people who hate Neil Gaiman, and there are people who love Neil Gaiman. And if he can get flamed and survive, then I can as well.
Yeah, I was like 12, 15 at the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm 25, and now it's obviously.
And I think the other thing as well would be to get a friend and get them to look at it and to get them to say nice things about it. And then if somebody does flame, you can at least go back and look at the nice things that somebody you trust has said and see that they've said something good. So somebody at least liked it. It doesn't matter if somebody hates it, as long as somebody liked it.
MST3K, because it's just so
Yes.
much more fun to take the piss out of it.
Basically, MST, Mystery Science Theatre 3000.
Where they put up a film and then have characters commenting on how terrible it is.
It's quite familiar. It is you get a flame and then you basically hack the hell out of it. You write your response mocking the fuck out of it. You don't have to post it anywhere, but it could, well, first, deduct 10 points for no grammar. So that can be quite good.
Deduct 100 points for using a 1 instead of an exclamation point.
Deduct infinity points for writing in all caps. Okay.